Hello students, welcome to the PG Pathshala. I am Ashok Goel from the Department of Physics and Astrophysics, University of Delhi. We will continue our discussion of the rigid body motion, part 3 from the paper Classical Mechanics. After studying this module, you should be able to understand the application of Euler's equations to describe the force-free motion of a symmetric top. You will learn to describe, if not very quantitatively, but at least qualitatively, the interesting motion of a symmetric top in gravity. The full mathematical treatment of a top or the motion of a top in gravity is quite complicated, but the main features can be understood qualitatively. You will learn about the stability of a rigid body rotation, about that if a rigid body is rotating and is deviated, so whether the motion is stable or not, you will learn about this. The rigid body motion in the absence of any external force or a torque is described by the Euler's equation. The center of mass in such a situation can be taken to be at rest without any loss of generality, because it may almost be moving with a uniform velocity in the absence of any external force. The rotation of the earth thus can be considered as a case in point. The earth is symmetrical about the polar axis and is slightly flattened at the poles. It thus can be considered as a symmetric top. The application of Euler's equations would result for an observer to find that the axis precesses in a circle about the North Pole once roughly every 10 months. The motion of a symmetrical body in a gravitational field with one point fixed in space has been of wide interest in the motion of a variety of physical systems, like the motion of a gyroscope to the motion of a top and of a child's toy like the tippy top. The motion is very complicated and full of surprises. We will discuss a few simple cases in this unit. We first consider the force-free motion of a symmetrical top. A symmetrical rigid body or a symmetrical top has a principal moment of inertia I1 is equal to I2, which we write as I, and this is not equal to the third principal moment of inertia I3. We further assume that the center of mass of the body is at rest. Then the Euler equations of motion become I minus I3 omega 2 omega 3 minus I omega 1 dot is equal to 0, and I3 minus I omega 3 omega 1 minus I omega 2 dot is equal to 0, and I3 omega 3 dot is equal to 0, where the angular velocity omega does not lie along any of the principal axes of the body, and omega 1, omega 2, omega 3 are the components of the angular body along the principal axis. From the third equation, namely I3 omega 3 dot is equal to 0, we immediately see that omega 3 is constant, and the first two equations then can be written as omega 1 dot is I minus I3 divided by I into omega 2 omega 3, and omega 2 dot is equal to I3 minus I divided by I omega 3 multiplied by omega 1. So writing I3 minus I divided by I omega 3 as capital Omega, the equations become omega 1 dot plus capital Omega, omega 2 is equal to 0, omega 2 dot minus into omega 1 is equal to 0. Now you can see that this is a set of two coupled equations, and which can be easily solved as we have done earlier by multiplying the second equation by I and adding to the first equation. Then we get an equation in omega 1 plus I omega 2. So the solution of this equation then is omega 1 plus I omega 2 is equals A times e to the power I omega t. And after equating the real and imaginary parts, we can write down the solutions omega 1 t is equal to A cosine omega t, and omega 2 t is A sine omega t, where omega is equal to omega 1 square plus omega 2 square plus omega 3 square under root is equal to a square by omega 3 square is equal to constant. The magnitude of the angular velocity does not change, and we find that the angular velocity omega revolves or precesses about the body symmetric axis x3 with a constant angular frequency capital omega given by I3 minus I divided by I into omega 3, which depends now on the level of asymmetry, that is on the difference of I3 minus I by I, which is a level of asymmetry, that is the difference between the moment of inertia about the symmetry axis and the moment of inertia about the other principal axis, which lie in a plane perpendicular to the symmetric axis. Thus, an observer in the body coordinate system would observe the angular velocity of rotation of the body to trace out a cone about the body symmetric axis as shown in the figure. So, the observer will observe that angular velocity is omega. So, the angular velocity traces out a cone about the body symmetric axis. The angular momentum L of the system in the inertial frame does not change in time since there are no external forces or torques and the angular momentum is conserved. The kinetic energy of the system is another constant of motion. Since the center of mass of the system is taken to be at rest, we have only the rotational kinetic energy which is conserved and which is given by half omega dot L. But since we have L is constant, omega must move in a manner such that the projection along L is constant because omega dot L is constant. So let the z-axis of the inertial system coincide with the direction of the angular momentum. Then to an observer in the inertial frame, omega traces out a cone about the z-axis and which omega in turn traces out a cone about the z prime axis in the body fixed system. We thus have one cone rolling on another cone such that omega precesses about the z prime axis in the body and about the z-axis or about the angular momentum in the inertial frame. This can be visualized by looking at the figure shown. The rate at which the angular velocity omega precesses about the body symmetry axis is given by this precession angular velocity capital omega is equal to I3 minus I divided by I into omega 3, where I is the moment of inertia about the symmetry axis and I3 is the moment of inertia about the third principal axis. So, I1 is equal to I2 is equal to I. Now, omega, the capital omega, the velocity of precession is small compared to omega 3, provided I3 is almost equal to I. The earth is slightly flattened at the poles. With I3 slightly greater than I, and I3 minus I by I is roughly 0.03%, 0.00331. So that makes the precession velocity quite small. The axis of rotation of the earth nearly coincides with the polar axis, which is the symmetry axis. Therefore, omega 3 is the component of omega about the axis of rotation is approximately equal to omega, where the earth rotates once in a day. So 1 by omega is equal to 1 day. Using this, the predicted period of precession of the axis of rotation is once in 300 days. An observer on earth will therefore see the axis of rotation tracing a circle about the North Pole once every 10 months. I mean, this is what our simple rough calculations are shown. The actual observed precession is in fact irregular and is roughly 427 days instead of 300 days which we have calculated. This is attributed to the fact that Earth is not perfectly rigid and is neither has the shape of an orbit or neither the shape of a spheroid. We will consider now the motion of a symmetrical top in the gravitational field. With one point fixed, we take the origin of the body fixed axis to coincide with this. So you have the body, the origin of the body fixed axis coincide with the center of mass. One point of the body is fixed. So the translation kinetic energy of the top vanishes. The symmetry axis of the top is one of the principal axes and can be chosen as the z prime axis of the body fixed coordinate system. Since the tip of the top is assumed to be stationary, we are left with 3 degrees of freedom to describe the orientation of the top. These 3 generalized coordinates are chosen to be the 3 Eulerian angles theta, phi and psi, where theta gives the inclination of z prime axis with the vertical, chosen to be the z axis of the inertial coordinate system. Phi is the angle made by the body fixed x prime axis with the line of nodes, and psi is the angle between the lines of node and the x axis of the inertial system, as shown in the diagram below. Refer to this figure. In this figure, we show the Eulerian angles theta, phi and psi for the case of a symmetric top. So you have the symmetric top, the body fixed axis are z prime, x prime, y prime, and the 3 Euler angles theta, phi and psi are shown. The angles, for example, phi and psi are the angles made with the lines of nodes. For the symmetric top, we have I1 is equal to I2, which we write as equal to I, and I3 is not equal to I, where I1, I2, I3 are the principal moment of inertia about the x prime, y prime and z prime axis. The kinetic energy, we have written so many times, is T is equal to half I times omega 1 square plus omega 2 square, because I1 is equal to I2 is equal to I plus half I3 omega 3 square. The rotational velocities omega 1, omega 2, omega 3 can be expressed in terms of Eulerian angles and Euler velocities, as we saw in the previous unit, namely the components of the rotational velocity 1 omega 2 omega 3 in terms of the Eulerian angles theta, phi, psi, and the Eulerian angular velocities are given in equation 2011, and they satisfy the relation that omega 1 square plus omega 2 square is phi dot square sine square theta plus theta dot square, and omega 3 square is phi dot cos theta plus psi dot whole square. Substituting this in the expression with the kinetic energy becomes T is equal to half I times phi dot square plus sine square theta plus theta dot square plus half I3 times phi dot cos theta plus psi dot whole square. Now the symmetric top is in the presence of the gravitational force. So its potential energy U is equal to mgl cos theta, where L is the distance of the center of mass from the tip of the top. The Lagrangian is now given by the difference of the kinetic energy minus the potential energy, which is mgl cos theta. And if you look at the expression of in the Lagrangian, the angles phi and psi do not appear. So phi and psi are cyclic coordinates. The Lagrangian does not depend on them. Therefore, the momenta conjugate to these coordinates are constants. Namely, p phi, the momentum conjugate to the Euler angle phi given by the partial derivative of L with respect to phi is constant, and likewise conjugate momentum to the Euler coordinate psi being given as p psi is equal to partial derivative of L with respect to psi dot is also constant. Now these conjugate momenta p phi and p psi are the angular momenta along the axis of rotation of phi and psi. And what are the axes of rotation of phi and psi? These axes are the z-axis, that is the vertical axis, and the body symmetric z prime axis. The reason these angular momenta are constant is because the torque exerted by the gravitational force is along the line of nodes, and both z and z prime axis are normal to the line of nodes and has therefore no component along these axes. Furthermore, since the system is conservative, The third constant of motion is the total energy, which is the sum of the kinetic energy plus the potential energy, and is equal to I by 2 multiplied by theta dot square plus phi dot square sine square theta plus I3 by 2 omega 3 square plus the potential energy, which is mgl cosine theta. Now we can solve the problem using these constants of motion without taking recourse to Lagrangian equation of motion, which is of second order. So from this equation 2016, we can express psi dot in terms of phi dot as I3 psi dot is equal to P phi minus I3 phi dot cosine theta. Substituting for I3 psi dot, we get an equation of phi dot, and we therefore get phi dot is equal to P phi minus P psi cosine theta divided by I1 sine square theta. And the corresponding equation for psi dot is obtained by noticing that psi dot is P psi by I3 minus P phi minus P psi cosine theta multiplied by cosine theta divided by I1 sine square theta. So it is clear that if theta is known as a function of time, both phi and psi from this can be obtained by integrating the equation for phi dot and psi dot, provided theta is known as a function of time. Now the equation for theta can be obtained by substituting for phi dot and psi dot from these equations which were obtained and shown in 2020 and 2021 into the energy equation, and defining E prime is E minus half I3 omega 3 square. The E prime is a constant. Now substituting for phi dot, we can write E prime as a sum of three terms given in equation 2022, which simplify to E prime is equal to half I theta dot square plus U effective, a function of theta, where the effective potential is equal to P phi minus P psi cosine theta whole square into cosine theta by 2I sine square theta into mgl cosine theta. Depends only on cosine theta because the rest of the things are constant. M, G, L, the moment of inertia, the conjugate momenta P phi, P psi are all constants. So this can be solved as a function of theta. So we have t as a function of theta given by the integral d theta divided by under root of 2 by I E prime minus U effective theta. Since the Euler angles theta, phi and psi specify the orientation of the top, theta, phi and psi as functions of t give complete solution of the problem. A complete mathematical solution of the problem, as I mentioned earlier, is quite involved and is given in terms of elliptical functions. In fact, there are whole books written on the motion of the top. Lagrange was the first person to solve the problem. The qualitative feature of the motion can be illustrated from the form of the effective potential, as in the case of central force field. We roughly have plotted the U effective, the effective potential, as a function of theta, which is in the shape of a trough, and you have the minimum energy E2 prime, and we consider the top to have, so if we consider the top to have a total energy E1 prime, then the difference between this and the bottom of this trough would be the kinetic energy. We have seen the sketch of the effective potential in the physical range of theta lying between 0 to pi. If the total energy corresponding to E1 prime is considered, then we have two limiting values of theta lying between theta 1 and theta 2, which are like the turning points. So we thus find the inclination of this spinning top lying between theta 1 and theta 2. So E1 prime corresponds to the minimum of U effective, and the motion is, so if we take the energy corresponding to the minimum of the U effective, then the motion is a steady precession at a fixed angle of inclination. From the minimum of U effective, we find that the steady precession is possible only if the angular spin velocity is greater than the limiting value of some limiting value. Thus, omega 3. Thus, there are two possible values of the precessional angular velocity corresponding to the fast and slow precession. For the general case of theta lying between theta 1 and theta 2, phi may or may not change sign depending on the values of these parameters. If psi does not change sign, top precesses about the z-axis and the symmetry z prime axis oscillates. So, there is a precession about the z-axis and the symmetry axis oscillate between theta and theta 2. This phenomena is called nutation. On the other hand, if phi changes sign, the symmetry axis makes a looping motion. And finally, if both phi and theta dot are 0, phi dot and theta dot are 0 at theta 0 theta 1, the result is a cusp-like motion as shown in the spherical diagrams. Thus, if the top is set spinning about its axis and is then given a certain initial tilt such that at t is equal to 0, we have theta is equal to theta 1, the top begins to fall in the gravitational field, giving rise to cusp-like motion. The figures A and B shown here correspond to the motion when there is an initial angular velocity phi dot. So, these are the locus of the symmetry axis on the unit sphere, the looping motion, the cusp-like motion and so on. So, finally, there is a minimum spin angular velocity omega 3 below which the top cannot spin stably about the vertical axis. That is, if the spin velocity is less than certain value, the top topples down and the top cannot spin stably about the vertical axis. If the initial velocity is greater than the minimum velocity, the top will spin quietly for a while. This is the state of sleeping top till the friction reduces omega 3 below the critical value and the top begins to wobble, it slows down and falls. This is what you must have observed when you spin the top. Now we will discuss the stability of the rigid body rotation. When a rigid body is in force-free rotation about one of its principal axis and a small perturbation is applied, if the system reverts back to its motion or the system performs small oscillations about it, then the motion is said to be stable. Consider a rigid body with principal moment of inertia I1, I2, I3 rotating about its x1 prime axis with angular velocity omega, which has now component along 1 prime axis. So, omega is simply omega 1 multiplied by a unit vector I prime. We now apply a small perturbation such that omega develops a small velocity components delta omega 2 and delta omega 3 about the second and the third axis respectively. So, omega is omega 1 I prime to begin with, then we give a small perturbation. So, after the perturbation, omega becomes omega 1 I prime plus delta omega 2 j prime plus delta omega 3 k prime. Now, the Euler equations become, for example, I2 minus I3 delta omega 2 delta omega 3 minus I1 omega 1 prime is equal to 0, so on and so forth. And now, since we assume the perturbation to be small, the product of the two perturbation delta omega 2 and delta omega 3 will be neglected. From the first equation, we have omega 1 is equal to 0 or omega 1 is equal to constant. From the other two equations, we obtain the equation delta omega 2 dot is equal to I3 minus I1 by I2 omega 1 delta omega 3, and likewise for the omega 3 dot. Now, we can differentiate the first equation with respect to time and we can substitute for delta omega 3 dot from the second equation. So, we get a second order equation for delta omega 2, which is given in equation 2013, and which obviously is a second order differential equation like a harmonic oscillator equation. It has a solution delta omega 2 is equal to a times e to the power some pt where p is square is given by this. Obviously, if p will be imaginary, if you look at the expression for p will be imaginary, that is p square is negative provided I3 is greater than I1 and I2 is greater than I1, or else I1 is greater than I3 and I1 is greater than I2, and we will have oscillatory solutions. Thus, if either I1 is the largest or the least of the three principal moments of inertia, the rotation about the x1 prime axis is stable. In other cases, delta omega 2 and delta omega 3 increase with time, leading to instability. For a spheroid with the moments of inertia equal along the axis perpendicular to the body symmetry axis, that is I2 is equal to I3 is equal to I, that is a symmetric top, P square is minus I1 minus I whole square by I square omega 1 square, and this is always negative, and therefore the motion is always stable for a symmetric top. So let us now summarize what we have learned. We have learned that for the case of force-free motion of a rigid body, like Earth's rotation, an observer will find that the axis of rotation precesses in the circle about the North Pole. This follows from the application of Euler's equation to Earth's rotation. Number 2. Motion of a symmetrical top exhibits the phenomena of precession, nutation, and slipping depending on the initial conditions.